Okay, I think we are ready. Alison Curdt, it is so fantastic to have you on our webinar tonight. Our highlight. We're bringing on coaches and of different industries and stuff. And this one I'm rather excited about because we've been friends of the family is what I always call it with Onform. You're friends of the family kind of a thing. So thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Nate. Appreciate it. Thanks for everyone for signing on and really excited to be a part of Onform and share some ideas and thoughts with you all this evening.
We're excited to get into this one. We've got some really fun stuff to talk about. For those of you who don't know, Dr. Alison Curdt has a very long list of accolades. It would take me, I think, at least an hour to go through everything that you've done, but it's some amazing accomplishments. The one that stands out to me is you are LA's LPGA, California, excuse me, California's LPGA Master and PGA Master Professional. That is a phenomenal, an absolutely phenomenal lettering behind your name. And I'm just so incredibly impressed with that. First female president of SCPGA, newly elected, which is awesome. We love our SCPGA friends down there. We've been a part of that for a while. So we're super excited for your new election, Madam President. Should I call
Thank you.
You're welcome. Top 50 teacher in America, Golf Digest. One that I really love, and I think I'm done talking after this, Doctorate of Psychology. So it was very nice talking with you.
Be
Love it.
careful, I'm going to analyze you.
I know, a little bit nervous on that one, but anything else you want to add to that?
I mean, gosh, that's a lot just starting off. I would say that I'm pretty blessed in my career to have accomplished the things that I've accomplished, and excited to share some of the thoughts that I have regarding how best to use Onform and my experience, my 18-year experience in the golf industry and golf coaching has led me to this place today. And I would say that I'm an overachiever, so I'm constantly studying, I'm constantly learning, adding new things to my resume to have just the grand hope of helping other people enjoy the game more. So the accolades are a nice cherry on top of an ice cream sundae, but the heart and the passion of it is just to make golf more fun and easier for the
Mm,
masses.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And I've been able to witness you on stage when you've been presenting at different PGA sections through countless conversations, and you just exude that passion of I just want to make golf more accessible and fun, and that is something to be commended. So thank you so much again for joining us tonight. A few housekeeping things just to let everyone know. I believe I'm sharing my screen, but we're going to go through some really cool stuff with Dr. Alison and her journey and whatnot. We're also going to be recording this webinar, so we will be able to have this on our YouTube page and send that out to all the attendees who have signed up, as well as ask questions. We're monitoring the Q&A section at the bottom, so please fire up any questions. I know that she loves to help coaches just think through things, so we'll be monitoring the questions as well, but really excited to go through all of this together. So let's just start there with the career journey. You've come from a little bit of playing, a little bit of coaching. Just kind of walk us through, maybe start why golf? What got you interested in golf and how you got to where you're at today?
It all started from jealousy. I know it sounds really interesting, but I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, and at the time, organized sports didn't start until the age of 8. And I had a brother who was 2 years older than me, and he got to engage in baseball and golf and all these really fun things. And being 2 years younger, I was super jealous that I wasn't able to engage in those sports and had to wait until, the coming of age of being 8 years old. So when I was 7, my dad started to bring me out and kind of sneak me onto the golf course, like the back nine, and just sort of experience what that is like. And I remember having one club 5 iron perhaps, and just started like hitting down the fairway and would make good contact, very little instruction, and just had a great time. So not only was it special to be with my father, but it's also special to kind of break the rules and engage in a sport before I became officially 8. And then when I turned 8, then I was just into everything. But the thing that really got me excited was that outcome of getting a trophy, getting a ribbon. So fun to like work towards something and then have the opportunity to like win a trophy, to win a junior golf tournament. And it was that little carrot that was sort of dangling in front of me the whole way. But as I kind of grew out of that phase of just, learning to idolize trophies and ribbons, it was more about the process of how this sport could never be perfected. So I felt like in the other sports I competed in, not that I perfected them, but there was like a certain place of becoming really proficient and elite that was satisfactory. And within golf, that never became fully satisfactory. It was always there's something you could do to get better and better and better and better. It was like a never ending journey. And so I ended up just staying in golf and specializing into that after high school, getting a full ride to Florida State University and playing there. And never once in a million dreams did I ever think I was going to be in the golf industry unless I was a full-time player. So when my dreams of not turning into Annika Sorenstam didn't pan out for me, I ended up sort of falling into this career because Florida State had a professional golf management program. And by the time I finished school, I was already a Class A member, PGA Class A member. So just kind of moved into the golf industry so that I could start earning an income as a young person and quickly realized what was most fun. And for me, it was not running tournaments or fluffing and folding shirts or merchandising. For me, it was being outdoors and helping that person really understand the complexities of the game and then simplifying it for them so that they walked away feeling like a rock star, like this is really, really cool.
Mm.
So after kind of fine tuning that teaching is more my jam, landed a couple of good gigs and ended up in LA, worked at Sherwood Country Club for about 7 years, and then started my own teaching business at Wood Ranch Golf Club and have been there for now going on 11 years. And my interest in psychology was still sort of budding. That was my other degree in college. And so while I was full time teaching, I went to night school at Pepperdine and got my master's in clinical psychology, and then continued on to get my doctorate in clinical psych. But along the way, became a licensed therapist in the state of California. So to actually treat patients and diagnose patients. And I sort of joke that the reason I did it is because golfers are crazy. Like we're all nuts. And
We
but
are.
all joking aside, most athletes are dealing with depression, anxiety, performance anxiety, some sort of athletic trauma. And to separate myself from the other 30,000 PGA golf professionals and to have a different specialty, it was to add in that psychology within my business and to be able to offer and showcase different value to my
Mm.
students. So that's kind of led me where I'm at today. It's allowed me to be a national speaker and to present some material I have with golf and psychology. And it certainly allowed me to give back to the organization through governance, not only in the LPGA, but within the PGA as well.
I love that. I love everything about. I love starting out as a little 8-year-old, the old Seve Ballesteros with the 5 iron, figuring it out, digging it out of the dirt, kind of a thing, to full circle, helping juniors. I know you work with juniors, helping everyone learn the game of golf that we have all come to love and enjoy and get frustrated with at times, right? Not competing at a very high level, but with your buddies on the weekend, it's so frustrating. But I love that for you. Now you're El Presidente of the SCPGA, right? And so tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about that. That's so cool.
Well, Nate, it's taken 100 freaking years for a woman to become president of the
Right,
Southern California PGA, but someone's got
right.
to do it. Certainly inspired by Susie Whaley, who was our
Hmm.
first national PGA president. She broke the glass ceiling. She paved the way for a lot of women to feel confident and comfortable in serving the PGA. And so I've had some opportunities to serve on the section board, which got me interested in serving at a higher level. And so when the opportunity came up to put my name in for secretary, because you work yourself through the chairs of secretary, vice president, and president, I put my name in and I didn't get it. And then someone moved out of position and I was sort of back in the running again and ended up becoming secretary 4 years ago and really have enjoyed the process of governance and giving back to the organization and trying to see how we can evolve the organization. Because one of the things that's the most frustrating to me is doing the same thing over and over and over just because we've always done it that way. And to me, that's not good enough. We have to continue to evolve, to continue to strive for excellence. So it just happened to be that the timing ended up that after we celebrated our 100 years as a centennial for a section, that's when I rolled into being the 42nd president of Southern California PGA.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And you're right. It's taken way too long. Susie is absolutely blazed the trail. And it's really amazing to see other sections that Onform gets to work with throughout the country, to see females rising through the ranks. And I love to see it. I see it across the country, and it's such a refreshing thing to see. And we're really, really excited for you. Um, and we'll be seeing you soon. I think we're going to be doing some stuff within the section here later the next month or so, and then at the Teaching Coaching Summit. Maybe a
Yes.
soft plug for anyone who is a PGA member. SCPGA puts on a phenomenal teaching and coaching summit, 2 day summit that has just been out of this world. It's a really, really cool thing to be a part of. So we're looking forward to partnering with SCPGA again this year. Let's pivot a little bit here and talk about some technology. I know that you've been a very big advocate of technology, but using it in the right way. You don't just use technology just to say, look at all the things that I have. Talk to us a little bit about maybe how you found technology to be beneficial in your lessons, and then how you came to finding Onform.
So I think part of it is a bit of my age range. So I'm kind of in that age range where part of my life had no tech, and then part of my life had a bunch of tech.
Hmm.
And I'm sure you can like kind of date that. It puts me in the millennial group, but I had the opportunity early on in my teaching to not have any technology, so to train my eyes and to train my critical thinking skills, so I can give a really solid golf lesson without any sort of aids, except for maybe like homemade training aids, the fun stuff, tennis balls and rubber bands and things that you could be creative with. And then as technology started to become more affordable and accessible, then it only made my job easier. But what was so cool is I had the background to not depend on it. It just
Hmm.
made things easier. So as the first iPhone came out and the first iPad came out, the ability to record instantly and to play it back for a student was like, wow, this just has enhanced the efficiency of my lessons. Back in college, we had a very archaic system that you'd have to like burn the swing on a DVD and then play it on the TV. And it was just like so tedious that it was, what's the point of even doing it now? Because the impulse to need to know what's happening has long gone. So
Hmm.
to be able to use technology in my hand on the range, on the golf course very quickly has just enhanced my business. So my very first video analysis software that I used was Hudl Technique. And it was at the time affordable for me. And I sort of did a very backdoor way to where I didn't have to pay for the subscription to be able to get through my lessons. But it created so much work for me at the end of the day. It was crazy. Then as COVID started to come upon us and our society learned how to use technology in a very helpful way to be safely distancing from one another, but still stay in contact with our students, lo and behold, Onform emerges.
Hmm.
And that was the like best Christmas gift ever because it was so easy to use. It was the right price point for my business. It allowed me to stay connected. And so I've been using Onform now for Onform slash Hudl since, gosh, 11 years.
Yeah.
And so Onform has continued to expand its workflow seamlessly, its opportunities, its options, its different nooks and crannies within the app that has made it really easy to integrate updates. A big
Mm.
one just was released today, so I'm excited to dig into that. Make sure you go to the App Store and update your apps, everybody.
That's right.
So it's besides video analysis, it's the thing that I use most in my day to day. And so I always kind of joke with you, Nate, and
Hmm.
Gear and everyone at headquarters that I use the app super hard. Like
Hmm.
I will use it all day long. I'm now up to using 2 iPads for multicam, having my own network run. So it just kind of expands, but it ultimately is just helping the student understand what I'm trying to deliver to them. And it's allowing me to keep in touch with them more frequently to keep them accountable.
Hmm. You mentioned something about just the speed of which your students can actually see. We remember way back in the day, the VHS players, the burning of the CDs, the DVDs, the time it took to actually create something to watch a playback. Like you said, that feeling has already left, right? I want you here. Just give me 5 minutes. I'm going to burn this disc and then you'll be able to see it. Those days are gone. It has to be instant and now, right? Something we hear coaches say a lot is, I want to be able to validate what I visualize. So I can visualize with my eye, like you said, Allison, I can see it. I know what you're doing wrong, but now I can validate it with video and technology to say, here, I want you to be able to see it too. So maybe let's step into features. I remember standing on the PGA at the PGA show during the kind of the summit there in the backstage. We were looking at stuff, and I said, "Show me some of your favorite features." And you just it was dark back there, but you lit up. You're like, "Oh, check this out, Nate." So maybe run through a couple of your top features that you love to use on a daily basis.
Definitely. Well, I'm really big into comparison for before and after with a student. Sometimes I use maybe a model. We won't say a tour comparison, but I might use a model. But I really am big on before and afters with students. Certainly the skeleton feature to look at joints, the different lines, the different angles. But maybe it might be a little easier if I just sort of show you some of
That
the
would be
features.
perfect. Let's do that.
And go ahead and pull up a student of mine, and we'll see what kind of fun stuff we tend to
Let's
look.
let's get into it. I'll stop sharing my screen, and hopefully it'll be able to allow you to share your screen
Okay.
on its way.
So I work
Technology
off
at its finest.
of an iPad Pro, and it's allowed students to easier see what's happening. So hopefully you can see my screen right now.
Can.
And I've then upgraded my system to have two iPad Pros. So now that I can use multicam, I'll have one sort of face on a tripod, and the other I'm working just handheld from down the line. But so this is a student that I've been working with for quite some time. And one of the things that we've been working on is I'll tend to do like side by sides here, and I'll rotate my camera here in just a second. But just to kind of look at what's happening over the course of time. So two completely different lessons. And we may track like, hey, over the past 6 months, how much better are we getting? Let's go to that lesson from 6 months ago and see if we're getting better. So I use the skeleton feature because it will show joints that maybe the student can't see. So I think
Hmm.
for all the coaches in the room, we're looking at this. This player is more dominant on the lead side, and that right hip is a little high. So of course, when she gets to the top of her swing, the ability to rotate and to get loaded up is a bit limited. Very easy to draw some lines. Today there was some new additions of colors. So I picked one of my favorite colors, this nice aquamarine blue.
Hmm.
And for this particular player, like she's able to see how this right hip joint kind of blocks her out from being able to twist and torque her torso in the preferred way that we would want her to. So what does this ultimately do? This creates more of an over the top move. So to be able to change a player really quickly and let's say highlight, how does the move on the left influence the move over here on the right? Now I've set up an alignment rod, so we're in the middle of a drill, and she definitely has some challenges with sequencing, wanting the top to run over more of the bottom. But in this particular way, when she's looking at the joint, she sees the left as the red circles and the right as the blue circles. We're not able to separate enough to be able to get that club to move down on plane.
Hmm.
So when I'm using skeleton feature, I am highlighting some certain joints because it just creates a very nice visual. Certainly using lines and circles and being able to see that player. I'll also do a little bit of some overlap. So if we're well, before I do that, if I'm working with a lefty, like how easy is it to just get on
Right.
their level? Like why use a righty comparison? If you're using some sort of model, like let's just go ahead and get in their world. And so being able to change them to a lefty, I think is really nice there. Um, One of the pieces when I'm doing some online lessons, if so they'll say the student has been working on stuff for a couple of weeks and then I'm traveling and she's like, hey Allison, can you check in on my swing and let me know if we're doing the things that you're talking about? When I press this button up in here, I can do a voiceover recording and it's a little bit more personal. So that's shooting right out of the iPad. It feels like I'm talking to her. Hey, Melissa, we're still getting this hip, needs to tuck back in a little bit more, needs to be able to work around the corner, get this thing to come around. I can draw on there. She's seeing me talk to her. It's almost like a live lesson. So I love that feature to make it pretty personal. So as we start getting into like her history, I do like the ability to, let's see, a little star that I'll put right here, to be able to star some of my favorite swings so that I can access them a lot quicker moving forward. For example, we were working on a particular drill here the other day, and I'll pull this up as we're trying to eliminate this over the top move. Turn this sideways. Love my students to do like a lot of rehearsals. And so she's able to see the replay. Hey, when I do this really slow, the club's coming in properly from the right angle. It's because this trail hip has moved in a little bit. Love the arrow feature. I don't have to draw the arrow. So a lot of these drawing tools are just very, very crisp and clear. And let's say blue's not your vibe. How easy is it to be able to change to some of these colors? And then a new feature that just got added in today, we've got the whole rainbow. We've got any color that you could love. So just love to be able to do that. You know, I added in an Apple Pencil this year, so just to make the drawing a little bit cleaner if I'm starting to do like any sort of arrows and angles, and really like the ability to be able to kind of showcase what a particular angle might look like. It's just so much easier to do that with a pencil than, you know, my big fat finger trying to draw all over that.
You know what's interesting about the color choices? I was on a call this morning with a coach and trying to explain this. They work a lot with juniors, and I said, you know, maybe one thing you could do is ask the junior, "What's your favorite color?" So then you're talking about a drill, and they remember that pink line was my favorite color, the blue line, the aqua was my favorite, and they were like, "Wow, that would be really fun just for juniors, right?"
Yes.
We all have favorite colors, right? Obviously, mine's a little
Right.
blue with a little Masters logo, but we all have favorite colors. Um,
But it's funny that you said that, because I think this kind of brings up a good question about like what's the appropriate age to use video analysis with.
mhm,
And so with this girl, she's 9 years old, and we get to do some fun stuff with the video. So like as I mentioned, I'm really big into mental coaching and psychology. So at 9 years of age, we're talking about how to get herself mentally prepared for her best type of drive. You can see a big old deep breath
Oh,
here.
I love that.
And just to be able to film the entirety, not just the golf swing, but the entirety of the process, she's able to go back and review this and say, okay, well, Allison wanted me to have this big deep breath. And then I walked in and I get set, trying to make sure that I'm ready to go without me prompting her, okay, you can swing now. And then here we go. Nice big drive. When is it appropriate to use video analysis with kids? I mean, how many 3 and 4 year olds do you see having devices in their hands now? They're
Mhm.
attracted to it. I hand the pencil over to them and say, hey, go ahead and draw or point out the pieces that we're looking at. And I feel like it deepens and furthers the learning with the student when we can actively integrate technology into the lesson and not have it take away, but it enhances the lesson.
Mhm. And one thing that you kind of alluded to a little bit is even with the juniors, having the adult, the mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, whomever it may be, a part of that workspace even. So this little one goes back and says, Coach Allison said for me to take the big deep breath, and you give that voiceover so the adult, the parent, the supervisor can go, man, I got to see your lesson, and then they can help reinforce maybe what you've been teaching.
Exactly. So there's a lot of accounts that will have um, the parent built in. So here's a good example of it. Um, actually, this what's really cool is we were talking to this golfer this weekend. I was like, "Did you know I've been teaching you since you were 9 years old, and now you're 13, and you're like 8 inches taller?" And we were kind of looking at the swing from back then to now. It's really kind of neat. But you'll see that the parent right here, June
Mhm.
Young, is added in there so he can log in and see what Jason and I have worked on. And then, of course, the two circles indicate that it's been shared to both family members. So not only is Jason seeing the voiceover, but the father, June, is as well. And then for those Onform users that are still kind of new to the program, you see this little microphone up in the top left corner. that's a voiceover. And so the way that I structure my lesson is you'll see a lot of side by sides. I usually film right in the beginning of the lesson and I kind of identify what's going to be our plan for the day. And then we work on a correction and I film the correction and I'll show them here's before, here's after. And hopefully the sound doesn't come up, but we play this here's before and after, and like here's what the
Mm.
correction looks like. Look how over the top he was on the left, and look how much he has shallowed the golf club out. So we see the before and after, but it's a voiceover recording. So when they play that little tile back a week later or 2 weeks later, now all of a sudden they remember what we've done in the lesson. Because, statistically, a student walks off your lesson tee and they will retain about 10% of the actual spoken words in the lesson. And there are thousands of words that are said in that lesson. They're going to remember 10%. They will always remember how you made them feel. But what do you do about the other 90%? I mean, you're a great coach. You've just given them a bunch of gold and they're going to forget 90%. It's the
Mm.
voiceovers. Replaying the voiceover is what gets them thinking about what that experience was like being in the lesson. And here's the technical pieces that my coach wants me to remember.
You're spot on. My wife, being a school teacher, says you have multiple senses for a reason. It's the video, it's the audio, it's the colors, it's all of that in between. And you're exactly right. And I'm so thankful that you were able to kind of help us out and join us with this call. I know that you were tight on time. You actually have to jump because you've got another class to teach. Surprisingly enough, you're busy.
Yeah, I'm heading to Korea. I'll be teaching via Zoom in Korea. How cool
I
is that?
love that. Well, I can't thank you enough. We had a couple of people congratulate, several people say congratulations on being the first president of SCPGA on our Q&A, which is just absolutely fantastic. And with it being National Women's Month this month, we couldn't be any happier to have you, our golf ambassador for Onform, the president of SCPGA. Just we are so thrilled to have you a part of our team and a part of our company, and you are a fantastic ambassador for Onform. Thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully you have enough time to maybe grab a quick cup of coffee before your next class. But Dr. Allison, thank you so much for everything you do for us.
I appreciate it. And I've really enjoyed the longstanding relationship that we've had. And for those that are watching, I mean, how I got connected with Onform is because I was that annoying person that every time I found something that was weird or didn't make sense to me, I'm sending in support. And I just kept seeing the same support names come back. And what's so great about the Onform family is like if a suggestion was made or there was like a little bug that was found, how quickly it was fixed. And then you all are like, hey, download this. It's already ready to go. And it was like, wow, how cool is that? And we all know that there's not too many platforms where you get that quick of feedback and that quick of an update to make sure things work really well. And just the workflow seamlessly, so it's been awesome getting to know all of you all just from my annoying questions of like, hey, this doesn't work for me. Can you help me out? So I appreciate that. And I'm really excited to share this with PGA members. If any of you
Mhm.
were at the Teaching and Coaching Summit, we announced that Onform is going to be integrated within the PGA Coach app so that those PGA Coach users can have a reliable and a stable video analysis tool accessible to them. So yeah, really happy to be connected with you all. Thank you so much for the time. And thanks for everyone who's logged in today for this webinar.
Yes. Thank you for everything you do for us. We appreciate it.